I explain why I am concerned and what I am concerned about with the Chicago Cubs in this offseason next.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Best way to support the show is by listening every day on your preferred audio platform and by pressing like and subscribing on YouTube as we make the push to 8,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Today's Thursday episode is presented by FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Curiosity and nerves are looming right now, considering this question: are the Cubs going to miss out this offseason? In the wake of the most recent signings, Rhys Hoskins to the Brewers, Matt Moore returning to the Angels, there are still more questions than answers on the north side. Sam, there are 20 days till pitchers and catchers report, 29 days until the first spring game, and 63 until opening day. What are the Cubs doing right now, and what's the concern meter at?
Yeah, we had an awesome Spaces last night. That was really fun. An impromptu X Spaces, Twitter Spaces, whatever you want to call it. It was
Great
delightful.
format.
I think at one point we had almost like 100 people with us, which on that is pretty awesome. Everybody was really cool on that. Look, I'm gonna just lay out because this is a nice time for me to let. Oh, whoa. For those on audio, Matt.
Hey, it's still a show at the end of the day.
Well, that's my favorite version. You know that. A nice ice cold.
It's become
can,
mine, trust me.
A regular Coke. It's much better than a bottle. And obviously certain fountains, are discretionary. So here, I just want to lay out where I'm at with the Cubs right now, so people understand.
It's important to
my concern. So I'm not concerned about the long-term future of this team. So I would like to start by saying that I'm not concerned that Jed Hoyer doesn't know what he's doing. I am concerned that, and I will say this is coming from a 75-80% fan perspective and about a 20-25% show host perspective as well. I think it's fair to admit that. I am concerned that the plan for the Chicago Cubs is to, I think they're going to eventually get Bellinger, but try and win about in the mid-80s, maybe a little bit more, use Craig Counsell to maybe get you over that hump, and will that be enough to win the division? With an eye towards 2025, with an eye towards 2026. And the reason that they aren't spending or investing in a ton of guys is because they want to see what happens in the minor leagues. They want to see another year of Matt Shaw and where his value rests. And they want to see PCA get a full time at the big leagues and then diagnose what their needs are. And I think if this season were to go poorly, you would see a desperate Jed Hoyer next offseason. I just don't think he feels like that right now. Why does that bother me? Well, it's simple, because it may lead to a very average 2024 season, which I hope it doesn't. And then also it makes you wonder, hey, we're a big market team. We are the Chicago Cubs. So why can't we do both? Why can't we spend money and develop minor leaguers at the same time? And I understand the counter is, well, we don't want to block anybody. Well, then make some trades and figure it out. I just think, and somebody, we had a lot of speakers last night on the Spaces. Somebody made the point, like, you don't know how the division's going to look in 25, 26, 27. Right now, it is extremely winnable. And one of the reasons why the Rhys Hoskins deal hurt me so much is because the Brewers just became another big big comp and big force to deal with, in my opinion, or at least closer to that. So I guess what I'm saying, and I'll get to my concern with the payroll situation in the second part of the show, but I think Jed is just kind of like still in nothing to lose mode with 2024, where it's like, hey, if we win 80, fine. If we win 87, great. But I'm excited to see what 2025 is, because we've heard Jed say it. He wants to be the next Braves. He wants to be the next Dodgers. He's looking at sustained excellence, and I just don't think he's really I really don't think Jed Hoyer cares that much about that he missed out on Rhys Hoskins and the Brewers got him for 2 years. I think Jed Hoyer's mind is in the late 2020s and building a year in, year out powerhouse, which would be great if he's able to do it. We'll all eat our words. But as fans, we live in the moment, and I don't want to see a 2024 season where, just like we did last year, we go, man, we were one reliever away from winning the division. We were this guy away, because those years are precious. So that's where I'm at. And I'll talk about the payroll stuff in a bit.
Yeah, this topic's going to take pretty much the whole show.
And it's hard to unpack.
We'll split it up, at least one different time. Have a note on Pat Hughes later in the media power rankings. But here's where I'm at with this. They won 83 games last year. In order to have sustained success, I never envisioned a path where they would actually lose, that actually win less games in order to do that. I don't care that it's one season, because like you just said, every season is sacred. Every season matters. So even to go from 83 wins last year to 82 and 24, that doesn't make sense to me. The Hoskins part of it, I don't have a strong conviction about, except when he's signed with the team in your division.
Right.
So now that raises a brow.
At a very fair price.
Because when Michael Busch got acquired, I crossed off Hoskins.
Yeah.
I think the Cubs did too, but did the Cubs foresee him going up north at a price that was beyond fair? 2 years, 34 M's, and actually only the first year is guaranteed.
Right.
If they won 83, and again, Craig Counsell brings me a lot of comfort. He does.
But I think that might be the problem.
But if they won 83 games last year with Bellinger, what's going to happen if you miss out on him?
With a great Bellinger,
the win total will start with the 7. It will. And I wasn't as mindful of that when we spoke Tuesday night on the X Spaces, and we'd love for you to join us there next time and invite everybody in. But that's so true. You weren't even that good with him. So number one, he's a priority. I understand. But number two, we've been highlighting all these different rungs to the ladder. And I understand it might not happen in one winter. I've come to terms with that. But I never thought the 24 season would be more or less a write-off. Like, oh, he can't lose. Well, he should be able to, Hoyer. He should be in a spot where he could lose. Now, whatever that means, we'll have time to unpack that. But there's no coasting to be done, right, especially when your division is only okay. And even to have the best in-game manager, or one of the best, people.
Well, I think that's a crutch. I think that might be a crutch for Hoyer.
It's a crutch for an injury that you're keeping going. Mm-hmm. You don't need to be hurt. You're in one of the biggest markets in the country.
I love the way
you're flush with money.
That was really.
There's nothing you need to hold up. We can stand on our own 2 feet.
Yeah, no, keep the metaphor going, man.
And guess what?
Mm-hmm.
You want an improved. I get the Bellinger Hoskins stuff. I'm offensive minded too. You got to score more runs. Mm-hmm. Matt Moore is now gone. Robert Stevenson is gone. Aroldis Chapman. What relievers are you going to get? Counsell's not a magician. Just because Craig Counsell runs the bullpen doesn't mean Daniel Palencia is going to pitch better.
He's not David Blaine.
And you have to pay money to do that.
And we're going to add into that. Just, I know you're going to go right into a break, but let me just add one more thing before we talk payroll. Cody Bellinger is not a priority at this sake. He is a must.
It really is now.
If the Cubs get Cody Bellinger and we go live and it's all rah-rah, it's not going to be rah-rah for me.
Maybe for a couple minutes.
Yeah. Now it'll just be, okay, at least we have something. Not basically.
Honestly, that should be the shortest show.
Cody Bellinger, all Cody Bellinger at this point does, re-signing, is throw the Cubs hat in the NL Central.
That's all it does.
You put your hat. Because if you don't sign him, you are taking the season off.
75.5 wins.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even going to put a total on it. They're just not going to win the division if they don't sign him and do something else. Right. And then I'll do your segue for you because the other thing is, even if the Cubs do get better here in the next couple of weeks via trade, I'm still going to have a problem with it. We're going to talk about that, Matthew, coming up next. Take us in.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are here. They're in full swing as the NFC and AFC championship games are this weekend, and there's still plenty of time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. In the AFC, it's Chiefs and Ravens. In the NFC, it's 49ers and Lions. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there's so many different ways to bet, like same game parlays. You could find bets in the new Explore tab. You could make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, which is the best way to find popular parlays, and so much more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're back here on Locked On Cubs.
Breaking news alert.
Whenever and wherever you may be listening, we turn it to Sam for breaking news.
Non-baseball related, but this is a show. I just want to let you guys know that former Bears quarterback and defending national champion coach Jim Harbaugh is going to be the new head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers.
Great.
Yeah.
Way to fire me up more on the show.
I knew that would upset you, so I just thought it would.
That's just horrible.
Yeah. So all right, let's talk payroll. Look, let me start this because I'm really passionate about this. I have been told for a long time, 3 years plus, by people in the industry and out the industry, hey, Sam, I think Jed's really good too, but really doesn't like to spend. We don't know what's going on with Ricketts. Then you had the whole COVID thing, the biblical proportion. Remember that quote, Matt?
Of course.
They were broke and all that stuff. Now they've recouped all that money. And I understand the Cubs, they're top 10 in payroll, I believe, as we speak. I think once they're get
10th even, yeah.
I think once they get to Bellinger, they'll be 7th or 8th, maybe, something like that.
Correct.
I just find it, I am concerned at the level of calculation that is taking place with these moves. For example, so far, they have signed Imanaga, which I think most people would say was one of the biggest discrepancies in what we thought he would get and what he actually got out of all the free agents. By a lot. Then they made the trade for Bush and Almonte, and from a baseball perspective, I did enjoy that, but you can't ignore that it really killed two birds with one stone because it was another thing that they didn't have to spend on. And I know that they're going to get Bellinger. I just want to see this team spend. Why can't the Cubs, for example, we know they're not going to go over the first luxury tax threshold. They didn't do it last year to cost them the playoffs. So why shouldn't they do it this year? And what are they waiting for? And I guess my question is will they? Because if the answer from Jed is we just didn't feel like it was right this year, I don't have to like it, but at least I can accept it and trust it. I just hope that financially the Cubs are willing to do what it takes to win a world championship if they have to and go into that first luxury tax. And if they're a 95-win team next year or something, go into the second threshold because sometimes that's what it takes to win. And I know the Jason Hayward deal turned out to be a disaster, but
come on, that was a while ago.
You can't live your life in fear because something in the past didn't work out. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense. So And again, it's just weird to me. Like even this Bellinger thing
It's
is
odd, yeah.
is weird. Like if the difference is 160 to 200, why can't we meet in the middle at 180? Like I know I'm oversimplifying
I don't
it,
know.
but like it just
I'm
seems
not sure.
so calculated and so shrewd, and it's just like that makes sense if you're the Kansas City Royals. That makes sense if you're the Cleveland Guardians. That makes sense if you're the Rays. This is the Chicago bleeping Cubs. This is WGN. This is a national audience. This is Harry Carey, Jack
This
Brickhouse.
is,
You know what I mean? Like this is one of the, in my opinion, one of the 10 or 15 biggest franchises in all of sport.
wow.
And you know, I was at Wrigley Field, and $281 later, I was home.
Right,
So
right.
I don't know what's going on, and my biggest concern right now is money. Why aren't we going out to spend? Why are we waiting so long? Why couldn't we just go get Sonny Gray early like the Cardinals did? Like,
wow. That was
as
forever ago.
as long as it's baseball reasons, I don't have to agree with them, but I can respect that because Jed
Right.
Hoyer is far smarter than me. But because it's all around the league, the Red Sox have major financial problems. The Padres have major financial problems. I just want to make
a lot
sure
of it TV related.
I just want to make sure I'm not doing a show every day about a team that might not have as much money or at least be willing to spend it as I want. So I'm a little concerned about the finances. Over to you.
Well, they're one of the tent poles in the sport, and they're a top 10, 15 franchise globally.
And so are the Red Sox, and they're
Amongst
broke.
the top four. Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, baseball, it's Cubs, Red Sox, Dodgers, Mets, Yankees. That's it. You know, the Braves obviously have elevated their position, but they're technically not in that main core group from a baseball perspective. They are, but not a branding monetary perspective.
Right.
Let's name it. So Imanaga, Bush, and Almonte is $16.5 million.
The
annually.
exact amount of money Kyle Hendricks is making.
16.5. Because those brothers from the Dodgers make the minimum. You times that by 2. Imanaga is 15. I almost said 15K. 15 M's.
Well, if he's at 15K, Jed's going to be running circles, laps around Wrigleyville, celebrating.
So that's 16 and a half M's they've spent.
It's all fun and jokes until the first pitch is thrown.
they still have about 39 M's left until the first tier.
So and that's got to be what?
Even if
Bellinger?
they leave let's say they're really strapped, which again, we can't point to why they would be or why they're choosing to be. Let's say they leave 5 to 7 M's for the season. So that would
I did
mean,
see that, by the way. I saw that. They might save for the deadline.
Right. Well, we talked a little bit about that last week.
No, you did.
So let's say they have 33 M's to spend. You could do Bellinger and Matt Moore, but now Moore's off the board.
Yeah, it's going to be Bellinger and some
one of these relievers, you see, I mean, Jed sees the market, right? If you want to instantly upgrade the bullpen, you have to be able to break out of your shell.
But that's the thing. Why can't we go over the first tier? We're the Cubs. So because
the penalties are only financial if you go over the first tier. You should be able to.
So what if you could get Bellinger and Chapman for $42 million combined next year?
You got to do it.
And you're going to say no because you don't want to go a few million over?
Especially if Chapman is just out there still and they get him for less years. It seems like a no-brainer. It seems like a no-brainer.
And then last year they didn't want to go over, and it cost them a chance to make the World Series. And people that want to say, "Hey, no, it didn't." Well, the team that beat them out made it.
Right. Okay. So we're very passionate about this. We love the Cubs. We want to see them get better. We're confused.
And Rosenthal keeps saying nervous. There's going to be a big splash. This big splash that's coming.
So, Sam,
what splash in the pool that I'm looking out my window right now at my pool? There's no water in it.
Do you think something big is coming?
I think they're going to re-sign Bellinger.
No, excluding Bellinger, dude.
No, I think they're going to re-sign Bellinger, and I think they're either going to – I think they may sign a lower leverage reliever and then trade for a bigger one, and that's going to be it. It's going to be a couple relievers and Bellinger, and we're going to be done. I don't think they're – like, what do you mean something big? What's big?
A big trade or a big signing?
No, I think maybe a trade for a good reliever and Bellinger's our best hope at this point.
Wow.
I think they're going to get Bellinger.
Hoyer having something up his sleeve would not surprise me, but it does seem like that's out of the plans right now.
But even if it's a huge trade, I'll be whatever that constitutes. I'll be thrilled. But if they give up,
something with the Guardians, probably.
Yeah, but if they give up a bunch of really good prospects for Shane Bieber versus just going out and paying money for Jordan Montgomery, that irritates me.
Right.
So
that would be irritating for a rental.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Be a Class A or something.
The irony is, I think Counsell's so good that if they get Bellinger, and Bellinger's just 85% of what he was last year, and they really do get one or two more relievers, they'll probably be right there at the end with these other clubs. I saw their over-under today. I think a lot of places it's about 83.5, 84.5.
It's starting to come out, yeah.
But I think that is, and I corrected somebody that sent that to me. I think that's including the probability that they get Bellinger. I think that's in the total. I don't think it's 84.5 as it stands right now. I think the books are like it's 84.5 because we probably think they're going to get Bellinger. I don't think it's going to go from 84.5 to 87.5 because they got Bellinger. Maybe it goes 84.5 to 85, 85.5. I don't know. But 84.5 sounds right to me with Bellinger.
Okay. Yeah, no, it does. It does.
And it just stinks. It just stinks because I thought they could get to a point this year where they were in the high 80s, early 90s.
Exactly. That's the whole
opportunity. And that's the whole point of the show. So
it really is.
So there's really nothing for me to say.
Okay.
I lost me. You know what I mean?
It's a talk show. Yeah. What's crazy is that
there's more.
We're inside 3 weeks of pitchers and catchers.
And nobody signed.
Is everything going to be done by then? I'm starting to think no.
If Stan Musial were playing, he'd be unsigned.
Yeah.
Mickey Mantle would be unsigned. He'd be thrilled about it.
There's so many guys unsigned.
Mantle would like nothing more than to be unsigned just to be able to hang out a little bit.
Well, I hope everybody to some extent enjoyed this conversation.
Pat Hughes too.
And because there's a lot to address, and it's very timely. We're going to wrap up speaking about the Cubs radio voice. Stay tuned. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today covers the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Search Locked On Sports Today on YouTube to subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Cubs radio voice Pat Hughes topped the Chicago Media Power Rankings released last week by the Chicago Sun-Times. Number one position, Sam. So many good memories associated with Hughes. Wanted to go over the play-by-play broadcasters also on the list. Play-by-play or color commentary or pre and post, as in case for one of them. That also has a Cubs connection. It was a top 20 list. So in terms of that category, when Hughes 1, Adam Amin 2, Boog Shambi 3, Stacey King 13, Steve Stone 15, Zach Zaidman 16, and Jeff Joniak 18. So there's a little power rankings action for you right there.
And I agree with one name on the list, and that's Pat Hughes 1. I think Steve Stone, I'm not a huge fan, but as a Chicago legend and a staple, I think he should be much higher than Boog.
Amin and King are a good team. You like them.
I really do like them. They're a little overly positive for me.
Okay.
Because the Bulls just aren't very good. And if you listen to the broadcast, you think they're, it's 1992 or something. But I love Adam Amin overall. I think he should be well, I'm not going to go there, but I think he could be the play-by-play guy of our club someday because he has real passion about the team. It just depends. It depends what the qualifications are. I've said this for a while. Boog Shambi is a tremendously talented broadcaster. If that list was being
He's
done,
elite.
if that list was being done by pure broadcasting talent,
Right.
then being in the top 3 is absolutely warranted. But to me, part of being an announcer for a hometown team and a local broadcaster is there has to be a little bit of a personal connection there. There has to be a little bit of a fandom there, and it's tone deaf to me, and he just doesn't have it. And maybe it's to his defense, he doesn't even pretend to have it. He just doesn't.
Yeah.
And so, Len, what we don't know how much of a Cub fan he was, but when he was there, it felt like he wanted the Cubs to be successful. And
Right.
Boog
His roots were in Detroit.
Yeah, Boog just feels like he's counting down the days until he could go to national TV or go to radio or do something else.
That's sad.
And it's just he's great to have on, but like when we were blowing the entire race in September, I mean, his tone was no different than it was when it was April and we were winning. Whereas, even the great Vin Scully, would have a little bit, he was Dodger blue and, whatever. So
drop a comment below. What are your thoughts right now on the Cubs broadcast situation, namely on the TV side? But Pat Hughes with some flowers right there by the Sun-Times, and rightfully so. And part of our show that I think has stuck out is I know sometimes it's for effect, but we do move mountains. We don't pull punches.
Jeff Joniak should be higher on that list, too.
And so talking about marquee, I think, is one of the things that our show does that few of them do. But that's part of the Cubs conversation. And especially being that they have literally their own TV channel, you better believe that we're going to talk about it. Well, although there's some bright spots on there, too. But the game presentation is by far the biggest part of this channel.
But also, Matt, it's also about tradition.
That's the biggest piece of real estate.
It's also about tradition.
Okay.
The Cubs had Jack Brickhouse and Harry Carey as their play-by-play men. Those are two of the very, very best to ever do it.
Legends.
And then, you skip down a beat to Len and Chip Carey, but Chip Carey obviously had the Harry Carey.
Those guys made a great impression.
Those guys were part of Cubs. When you bring on somebody like Boog, you can't, and this is not even Boog's problem, and it's not even his fault, but it feels, and just like the Marquee Network does to me, anti-Cub. To me, what it's like to be a Cubs fan is 120 WGN with a legendary guy on the mic. And not having to connect something through my computer, HDMI, restart it, go into Safari, Google Chrome, and have Boog be talking about gym shoes in the 5th inning. It's no knock on him as a broadcaster. If he's watching this, he might be the most talented broadcaster of them all that I just mentioned. But it's not just pure talent. There's romanticism in sports and baseball. There's connection, and that's what I think he's missing.
I love that, Sam. And I hope they are watching. To some extent.
We know Jed does from last year. He copied all our moves except for Mancini.
We're inside
the Marlins today, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, like a minor league deal. Maybe he'll, I don't know.
Break camp with them.
Yeah.
We're inside 2 weeks of our next live show, Wednesday, February 7th, 7 to 9 p.m. at the Des Plaines Theater. If you're in the Chicagoland area, we really would want to encourage you to drop in for that. There's also a great dinner and drinks menu at the Des Plaines Theater as well. 7 to 9. Going to be a live podcast, trivia, Cub stories, Q&A. Just a lot of great things there. Tickets only $10 and available at the link on this episode.
Please come, hang out with us. Take some pictures if you want. I mean, talk to us. Last time I talked to a couple guys. We were there about 45 minutes after showtime.
I think it was close to 10.
Yeah, so come hang out with us and meet us and realize that we're basically just like you, except a little crazier.
Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs. You give us 20 to 30 minutes. We'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or two along the way. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube and smash the like button for the algorithm and drop a comment below as well. Shout out to the audio peeps on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcast. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.